The MLB Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Arctic Fantasy. Get up to 1K in a deposit match with Sign by Arctic Fantasy with the promo code MLB SGPN. And welcome, everybody, to the MLB Gambling Podcast here on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. It is currently Friday afternoon, August 1st, around 5 p.m. Eastern Time. I'm your host, Scott Rochelle, going solo for this pod, and it's time to get into the games for the Saturday slate. So we have 15 games to get through. Should be fun. I do want to point out, though, I was supposed to be joined by Dylan, but Dylan couldn't make it, so I'm going to be going solo for the show. Either way, though, once again, should be an interesting episode. Before we get into any of the games, though, we have to briefly talk about the trade deadline, which ended up finalizing after the show yesterday with Lante finished recording. We got through most of the deals there, but just kind of making sense of everything involved. I'm not going to spend too much time diving into each trade, but I'll just mention some of the teams that kind of caught my eye, some of the moves that caught my eye. So first move was the Mason Miller trade. As he got traded from the A's to the Padres. Padres gave up a ton. So they got Miller and J.P. Sears for one of the best prospects in all baseball in DeVries. They also ended up getting rid of Net, Baez, and Nunez. So the point is they got rid of a top 5 prospect in the league and a couple other interesting pitching prospects to get Miller, who as of right now is a reliever. Maybe they'll convert him to a starter down the road, who knows? But did I think it was a good trade for San Diego? Honestly, not as much as most people. I know they also got O'Hearn, they also got Laureano, so they made a couple of other moves, but I thought it was a drastic overpay for Miller. I know Miller is viewed as being an elite closer. This year, he has not been as, I'd say, effective as he has been in previous years. But the point is, I understand why San Diego did it. They're still a wildcard team right now. They're only 3 games back of the Dodgers' first place. So the argument is, maybe if they make enough moves, they can find a way to steal the NL West. Having said that, it felt like it was a pretty hefty price tag for a closer when you already have one. I know Suarez has not been good for the last month or so. It just felt like an extreme overpay. And I think the A's did pretty well getting, once again, a top 5 prospect in baseball back for a closer. So if San Diego, we know Preller loves to make his all-in pushes. If San Diego ends up not getting over the hump, let's say they lose in the first round as a wild card team. In hindsight, this trade might age terribly. So I felt like it was a massive gamble. Of course, if San Diego wins the division and they eventually make a deep run in the playoffs, maybe it's worth it. But doing all that for a closer who maybe you try to convert into being a starter, I thought was excessive for me. So I thought it was kind of an overpay for San Diego. I was not as high on their deadline as other people. I know, of course, you look at the finished product, you look at Miller, you look at the other potentially platoon guys that you can use in O'Hearn and Laureano. I get it. The argument is they got better immediately. Do I think they're good enough to win the title? No. So I think that it seems like a bit of an overpay to get rid of a top 5 prospect in baseball for a closer. Besides that, though, I want to mention a couple of other teams that made a couple of moves. The Yankees, of course, addressed the bullpen. They got Bednar from Pittsburgh. They got Jake Bird from the Rockies. They got Doval from the Giants. They also ended up trading for Caballero, who's going to be a potential platoon shortstop with Volpe, if Volpe remembers how to field. I like the Yankees' actual, I'd say, bullpen remake. I do think that you can argue they need a starting pitcher. I'd agree with you. Luis Heel should be coming back at some point. Cole's still injured. Schmidt's still injured. They are missing some starting pitching, and that would have been a nice, once again, position of need for them to address. But I like their moves. They also got Slater. They got McMahon about a week ago. I do think that they have some problems pending at the DH position because Judge might not field for the rest of the season. Stan, I don't know if he can field, and Dominguez is an atrocious fielder. So the Yankees have a bit of a logjam at DH anyway, which you can't really address at the deadline because you just have some injuries to Judge, and you're hoping that he can play the outfield again by playoff time. I like their moves a lot. I thought the bullpen was a serious problem. Now you're looking at, I know that Williams has not been good, but I'm going to throw him into this mix anyway because of the upside there. You have Williams, you have Weaver, you have Bednar, you have Doval. I mean, that's just an insane back end of the bullpen. And if you want to throw in Tim Hill, who's been really good this season, I know Loizaga has not been great, but you can throw in a couple other guys. It's a dangerous bullpen. A very, very October-ready bullpen. Now, the problem is the starter might only give you 5 or so. They still have Fried. I know he's had some blister issues recently. You still have Rodon. The third starter is a bit of a question mark, but the Yankees bullpen might be the best in the entire league at this point. You could argue San Diego because they got Miller, but that Yankees bullpen, the back end especially, is filthy. And I thought the Yankees did pretty well. Nice job by Cashman giving the Yankees some bullpen help. Moving on, though, to the other New York team, they were very aggressive as well, as the Mets made a bunch of moves. They got some bullpen help there. They got Helsley, they got Soto a couple of days ago, and they also ended up getting Rogers. I believe that was the day before the trade deadline. So they addressed the bullpen, and they also got a center fielder. They ended up getting Mullins, who has been a great defensive center fielder for the Orioles, especially over the last week. The power's been there for Mullins. The average has fallen off a cliff, and he has an underratedly high amount of strikeouts. But he'll bat in the bottom of the order. He's going to play center field. He's better than Taylor, which is good enough for the Mets. I like what they did, personally. Thought the Mets did a good job of addressing some positions of need, and I thought they did a good job of, once again, finding some plan B options that were pretty good. Because initially, there were rumors the Mets were going to trade Vientos for Robert. Now, the White Sox ended up keeping Robert, and Vientos has kind of heated up lately. So they kept Vientos, and they ended up getting Mullins for basically nothing. So I like what the Mets did. Thought they had a good deadline. Is it enough to win the NL? Maybe, because the Dodgers have really not been that good. So we'll see what happens, or I should say not good lately. We'll see how they do in October. But the Mets, they might be in a position to maybe make the World Series, and I do think these moves will help in that pursuit. I like their moves in general. Thought the Mets did a pretty good job. Looking at some other teams that made some moves, Houston made some headlines yesterday as they ended up bringing back Carlos Correa. It was a complete salary dump by Minnesota, because the Twins drastically overpaid for a guy with really bad physical results when they signed him in free agency. Point is, though, they gave up a random pitcher who has not been good. Mikulski, 26-year-old lefty, who's not gone past Class A complete salary dump, basically, by the Twins, and Houston brought back one of their main leaders from the World Series teams. Now, Minnesota, they gave the Astros $33 million to cover a portion of the $104 million. So the Astros are paying Correa $70+ million until 2028. He's probably playing third base, so he's not going to be playing short because Paredes is out for a long time. So that's going to be a problem for him. Now, did I like the move for Houston? To be honest, not really, because I don't think Correa's got much left in the tank, and he's always injured. So I don't really think Correa's worth much. I get for the fans and for the feels and the nostalgia, you can argue that there is a path for Houston fans to buy in on the move. Correa this season, I mean, he has a batting average at around 267. He's got 7 home runs, 31 RBIs, but we know he's injured all the time. He's been healthy this year. Will he stay that way? I don't know. He's played less than 137 games in 3 straight seasons leading up to this year. So I don't really like the move that much for Houston. Correa, we can all agree, is past his prime. He's only 30, but we know the speed has kind of deteriorated. He has not had a stolen base in basically, 6 years at this point? So the speed's really not there. He still has a cannon of an arm, not as good of a fielder as he used to be. I mean, his WAR this year, despite playing in every game, almost is 0.1. So they got a net neutral guy for nostalgia purposes, hoping that Houston can bring him back and maybe rekindle some of the success they had with him in the past. I really was not moved at all. It felt like a pretty desperation-heavy move by Houston. And the fact that Correa is making $70+ million for the remainder of the deal, and the contract is through 2028, that's a long time for Correa in what looks like a pretty tough contract to move. So I was not a fan of Houston's deadline personally, mainly the Correa move. I just thought that it was a panic move trying to find somebody to replace Paredes in third base, but I'm just not a fan of Correa in 2025, and the fact that he's under contract for a decent amount of money over the next 3 years or so, pass. I'm not interested in that deal for Houston, but I understand why they made it. Moving on to some other teams, I want to mention the Twins, because they traded everybody on the damn team except for Joe Ryan. I get it. Look, you traded away everybody worth a damn besides one guy, because your team stinks, and your team, we know, underachieved all year. It fell apart at the back end of last year, and Baldelli's still there for some reason. But Minnesota had a glimmer of hope. They won a playoff series a couple years ago, and since then, right back down the drain. So Minnesota traded away everybody. It's probably the biggest selling spree I've ever seen from a baseball team. I believe the Twins for next year only have 2 players under contract, which is insane. So we'll see what they do moving forward, but Minnesota blew it up, and I kind of agree with them. Because once Buxton got hurt and once the team kind of fell apart after their hot start, yeah, that's just not really a team you want to keep, I'd say, promoting win now territory with. So they ended up blowing it up, and I understand it, but it's depressing if you're a Twins fan. Also mentioning the Diamondbacks, they traded away Kelly to the Rangers. They also traded away Suarez and Naylor a couple days ago, and Grishik as well. So Kelly had to be moved. I believe he's a rental until the end of the year, and then he's a free agent. So you're looking at them getting a couple players back. The Rangers have been trying to fight and climb to a wild card spot. I get why they made the move. As for the Diamondbacks, they had to trade him. So I don't really have much else to add. Thought it was a decent return for Arizona. I am surprised Gallen is still there for Arizona. But you know what? They had to make some moves. They underachieved as well. And they ended up making the best of a bad situation to some degree as they traded away Kelly, who they had to trade, who was a rental. Besides that, though, looking at other teams that caught my eye, the Cubs and the Brewers in a negative way. The Cubs made a couple of moves. They got Soroka, and they ended up getting Kittredge. They could have done more. I thought they could have used a starting pitcher. They didn't really get one. They got Soroka, who I think is for a playoff atmosphere, more of a long relief bullpen guy. I thought the Cubs could have done more. Milwaukee, I talk about every year, they're either poor or very cheap. So they don't spend money on anybody at the deadline, and they did it once again. And people kept waiting for Milwaukee to make some moves, and they didn't do anything. They ended up getting Shelby Miller, but besides that, they really just kind of just sat around. And it felt like both teams, the NL Central, could have made some type of move to promote a push to win a division title. And now they're kind of just back to where they were beforehand. So I thought the NL Central teams were kind of weird. Pittsburgh blew it up. They had to. They kept Mitch Keller, but they traded away Bednar, of course, and they traded away Falter as well, and Brian Hayes. The Reds bought. Good for them. Will it work out? I don't know. They did win today, so we'll see if they can maybe make a wild card spot. But Cincinnati made some moves. They got Andujar. They got Littell from the Rays. They got Brian Hayes. They made some moves, so they've been aggressive. The Cardinals didn't really do anything. They traded away Steven Matz and Helsley. Thought they would try to get rid of more. I know Donovan was linked to a couple teams. He ended up staying put. So the Cardinals did a bit of selling, not too much. The Cubs and the Brewers, though, I felt like they left some meat on the bone to potentially give themselves a pretty decent edge over each other to win the division. And both teams kind of just stood pat. So kind of my thoughts there for the deadline. Might be missing a couple of teams, but those were the main moves that I thought of, at least, that kind of caught my eye, or the main teams that I wanted to talk about there. I'll mention the Phillies as well. Good job. They got Bader. They got Duran from the Twins. Thought they did a pretty good job. We'll see how they do once again to close the season. They're competing with the Mets for the division title. We'll see how that goes. Did not mind the Phillies deadline as well. Thought they did quite well. Now, anyway, just going to wrap it up for the actual trade deadline recap. Time to move on into the games for the card on Saturday. Before we get into the actual card, a reminder, though, that you can find the NFL team previews, which are now out for the Sports Game Podcast. They're back with the 32 NFL team previews. They're also bringing back the phrase that pays. Each episode will have one key word of a 32-word phrase. Enter the entire phrase for a chance to win a $1,000 circa future. Moving on to the games for Saturday. Starting off with the first game, you have the Dodgers taking on the Rays. The Rays had a weird deadline because they traded away Caballero, they traded away Littell, and then they ended up trading for Hauser, who's kind of just a replacement for Littell, and they got Jax from the Twins. So I don't really know if the Rays bought or sold. I'm kind of confused on what the actual mindset was for this team. They were rumored to get rid of Yandy Diaz, thought they might get rid of a couple people, and Aranda got injured in the middle of the rain delay game against the Yankees. So Aranda has been really good. I know the X-rays were negative. We'll see if he goes on the IL or not. I don't really know what Tampa was doing. I understand Tampa wanting to sell because the team's been in free fall for the last couple weeks, but then you got Hauser, and then you got Jax, and your team probably will miss the playoffs anyway. So I can't really tell if the Rays are going for it or not. I thought it was a pretty weird deadline for them. But either way, point to take on the Dodgers in this game. Dodgers were a bit quiet. They traded away Dustin May. They also ended up acquiring Call from the Nationals. For the most part, not as aggressive as most years for the Dodgers. The deadline, but either way, you have Snell pitching against Rasmussen. For the pricing in this matchup, you have the Dodgers at minus 135. You have the Rays at plus 115. For the over-under, I see 8.5. Now, Rasmussen was pretty up and down against the Yankees in his last start. The pitch count's been noticeable. He went a bit more distance than normal over the last month or so against the Yankees last time out. Snell, though, came back, and he has been really, I'll put it this way. He had 2 outings earlier this year, and now he's coming back first time since April 2nd. So we don't know what we're going to get. They could argue the Dodgers got rid of May because they had Snell waiting in the wings, and he'll fill in for the rotation spot. So we'll look at how Snell is going to perform. The Dodgers, though, were laying a decent number for a guy who hasn't pitched since April. Having said that, I'm not sold on Rasmussen. Aranda might not play, and I didn't like their deadline at all. So I'll go with the Dodgers here at 135. The Padres are starting to breathe down their neck. They've been in good form. I do think that Snell should pitch okay against his former team. You could argue there's an emotional edge with, of course, Cash being the opposing manager after what happened in the World Series. But I'll go with the Dodgers here. They're the better team, in my opinion. The Rays' offense has been a bit cooler lately. Aranda might not play. There are problems with this team, and they just decided to go full steam ahead. Give me the Dodgers at minus 135. No thoughts on the total at around 8.5. I guess I would consider the over because Snell might be rusty with his command. You might see Rasmussen struggle, but it's over, I guess, but I'll go with the Dodgers for this one. Moving on to the Orioles, taking on the Cubs, an entertaining classic Wrigley wind-blowing in game on Friday as the Cubs did win 1-0, courtesy of a sac fly. Now, for the game itself, you have Sagano against Brown. Now, for the actual matchup, you have the Cubs minus 180, give or take. You have the Orioles at plus 150. For the over-under, I do see 8.5. Got to mention the wind in this game because we saw the total completely just die in the game on Friday because the wind was blowing in. So, for the wind on Saturday, you have the wind blowing in again at around 7 miles per hour. Now, the problem is I don't really trust either pitcher. Sagano's 8-5, 4.38 ERA. He was struggling a bit, then he found his rhythm last start against the Rockies. That was against Colorado, but still. 6 innings, 1 run. You have Ben Brown, though, going for the Cubs, and he's visible. 5-7, 6.22 ERA. I'll point out, though, he was very good last start against the White Sox. 5 innings, 1 run. So you have 2 pitchers who've been, I'd say, underwhelming, but you know what? They were good last start. Maybe they can piece it together again. I might make a case for the under in this game, backing another Wrigley wind-blowing in type of game. 8.5 just feels a bit high to me. I don't trust Brown. I don't really trust Sagano, but for the pricing alone, I can't lay minus 180. I see minus $2 with the Cubs. I can't take that with minus 120, with minus 200 on Brown. Give me the Orioles, but I'm not happy about it. Moving on to the next game, you have the Royals taking on the Blue Jays. Blue Jays also had a weird deadline. They ended up getting Bieber, who might make his return later on this year. I know he hasn't really pitched at all so far this season. We'll see what they do. But I thought Baltimore, once again, was a team that sold as they should. The Yankees bought as they should. Toronto kind of half-assed it. They got Bieber for the upside, but I don't exactly know how he's going to fare this season. And they're in a pretty competitive AL East division push. Not the biggest fan of what Toronto did at the deadline. I thought it was okay. If Bieber pans out, then we know Shane Bieber's amazing. But I thought they could have done more for a couple of trustworthy options, and they went a bit bolder, which could blow up in their face. We'll see what happens, though. For Kansas City, they had a weird deadline, too. They traded 4 players. They got Grishik, for example, and they got Yaz from the Giants, and I don't think Kansas City's that good. So I don't really get the vision there. I thought they might be selling, but they ended up extending Lugo. They traded for a couple of pieces. I guess the Royals don't want to blow it up, but the team's not good enough, so I don't really get the vision, but whatever. For this game, though, you end up having the Royals with Cameron against Scherzer on the mound. For the pricing, we have no lines on this game. I know Toronto will be favored because they've been great at home, and we know that Toronto's division leader right now, and the Royals will miss the playoffs, but for this game, I think I have to go with the over in this one. Cameron's a guy who I think is a pretty decent young pitcher. The problem is Toronto has been amazing enough, especially at home, and I think Cameron's going to struggle in this environment. Scherzer, though, has really not been that good this season. Has a 5.29 ERA at home. He's given up at least 3 earned in 3 straight. I see runs in this game. Give me the over. I think that you're going to see a bit of a high-scoring game compared to what the total is going to open up with. Give me the over for this one. Moving on. So the next game, you have the Pirates taking on the Rockies. You saw the Pirates sell at the deadline. You saw the Rockies trade away McMahon. Besides that, they traded away Bird to the Yankees as well, and they kind of just chilled. Didn't really do much else. You have Skeens against Gomber for this one. For the pricing, Pittsburgh's minus 225, or I see minus 204 in a spot. You see the Rockies by comparison at plus 170. I see 188 though, if you shop around. For the over-under, I see 10. So you're looking at Pittsburgh. They traded away, once again, Bednar. So their bullpen had a bit of, I'd say, turnover. They also got rid of Falter. The lineup, though, besides Cabrian Hayes, who's a below-average hitter, according to WRC+, is still intact. You have Reynolds, who's still there. Cruz is still there. And they've been playing good baseball lately. Now, we know Skeens is a madman, and we know Gomber's not very good. 0-5, 6.28 ERA. Give me Pittsburgh minus 1.5, but it's minus 140. So maybe I'll just go Rockies' first 5 team total under. I'll dare them to do anything against Skeens in this one. Nothing too creative, but I actually don't mind Pittsburgh in this one. But I'll go with the Skeens shove spot. Give me the Rockies' first 5 team total under in this game. Before we get into the remainder of the slate for Saturday, reminder brought to you by our sponsor, which is MyBookie. It's available a ton of locations. You can bet on baseball, tennis, WNBA, golf, and of course football futures. They're also available with crypto if you want to get fast deposits and easy payouts. A reminder, use crypto for that. And when you actually sign up for your new account, use the code SGPN. They get 100% of the benefit to 1K. Terms and conditions apply with the G promo code SGPN. We're also brought to you by Rhythm because they have Power Trends, a brand new feature, which is the best of the best for the house model, which have been crushing for baseball and for the WNBA. For baseball, they are really they're really good. They have a lot of unders on bat or hitter props, which are hitting at about 70%. And a reminder, for WNBA, Power Trends since the All-Star break are 27 and 16. ROI of 23.36%. Check out Rhythm, use the Power Trends, and download the app, which is free for a week if you use the link that we have in the partnership with Rhythm. Use the link, sportscampodcast.com/rhythm to get your 7-day free trial. Welcome back, everyone, to the MLB Gambling Podcast. Finished going through the first couple games on the card for Saturday. Time to move on into the next game. Moving on to the Tigers taking on the Phillies. Tigers had a pretty underrated deadline. You're looking at the Phillies, who I thought did a good job in general. Now, you have a great pitching matchup. The matchup of the day by far, you have Skubal against Wheeler. Now, for this one, Tigers woke up a bit offensively against Arizona, and after the slump, they've gone back on track. For this one, Phillies favored minus 115. You have Skubal and the Tigers at around minus 102. For the over-under, I see the line being set at around 7. I agree about the low total. However, I think the wrong team's favored. I'll take Detroit. Philly, I understand at home, can be dangerous with the bats. They're 33 and 19 at home. I get it. Wheeler, though, has not been as good lately. He has given up at least 2 earned in 3 straight. He's given up 10 earned in his last 3 starts combined. The Yankees, 5 2/3, 4 runs. Boston, 6 innings, 2 runs, but he gave up 7 hits. There was some damage that he had to wiggle out of. And against the Padres, 6 innings, 4 runs. So I'll point out he was better at home. That Yankee start and the Padres start were both on the road. Point is, though, Wheeler's not pitching as dominantly as he was about a couple weeks ago. I'll go Skubal in this one. Detroit's offense woke up. I do think that getting Skubal at a borderline even money price is pretty appealing. So I'm going to go with the Tigers here. I don't mind the under potentially, maybe the first 5 under. But I do think the Tigers should be favored in this game. Slight favorites, like minus 115. But I do think the Phillies being favored with Wheeler's recent, I'd say, blip, I think tells me that the price might be a bit off here. Give me Detroit in this road game. Moving on to the next game. You have the Brewers taking on the Nationals. Now, Milwaukee did basically nothing at the deadline. The Nationals stink, so who really cares? You have Woodruff against Irvin for this one. For the matchup, you have the Brewers minus 170, give or take. You have the Nationals at around plus 150. For the over-under, I see it being set at 8.5. Now, Woodruff has been really good since coming off the IL. He's 2-0 with a 2.01 ERA. Irvin's been up and down, 8-5, 4.69 ERA. Recently, he has been up and down once again. 4 earned, no earned, 5 earned, 2 earned. So, yeah, it's kind of a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. But the strikeout's been terrible for Irvin. He has struck out 3 batters in his last 2 starts combined. That's not going to fly against Milwaukee. Milwaukee has a deep line. They end up making contact a lot, and I do think Woodruff should go well in this one. James Wood still striking out a ton, which is problematic. I'll go with Milwaukee in this one. Don't mind the minus 1.5. You might end up seeing a low-scoring game maybe if you end up seeing Woodruff shove. But Milwaukee, I think, wins comfortably in the end. Give the Brewers to get the job done. If you want to go for the -1.5, because you're looking at the -160, -170 being too steep for you, you can get -1.5 at -102. I'll take that in Milwaukee in this one. Moving on to the next game, the Astros taking on the Red Sox, two teams that really disappointed at the deadline. Boston was rumored to be trying for Joe Ryan, for reports after the deadline to tell you they weren't close. They got May from the Dodgers. Besides that, did I like their moves? No. I thought Boston kind of did nothing for the majority of the deadline, and you could argue that their ownerships focus so much on Liverpool that they don't really care enough about baseball. Maybe. But the point is, the Red Sox didn't really do much of the deadline. The Astros made some moves. I didn't necessarily like the moves, mainly the Correa move, but they were aggressive, so I'll see what happens. But for this game, for the matchup in itself, you have Gordon against Buehler. For the money line here, you have the Astros, who are about +105. The Red Sox are -125. For the over-under, I see 9.5 or 9. I'll go with the over in this game. Look, you know my thoughts on Bieber. I think Bieber's terrible. He was not good last start either. 4 2/3, 3 runs. So he was in a bit of decent form. Then the Dodgers kind of got to him a bit. The Red Sox won the game, though, which was a bit surprising. But Buehler, we know, can be very, very volatile. Houston can maybe tee off against them in Fenway. For Gordon, he's a lefty. Boston's going to stack the lineup with righties, and in Fenway, that's a bit of a problem. Gordon did give up a 4 earned against the A's in his last start in 5 innings. I'll go with the over in this game. I could argue be Boston because I like how they've been playing, and they did a good job against Minnesota the last couple of days. But I do think Houston has a chance to win because Buehler's that bad. So give me the over in this game. I think you'll see a pretty high-scoring matchup. Moving on to the next game, you have the Twins taking on the Guardians. Now, the Guardians didn't really do much deadline. Trade away Bieber, who was injured. They kept Kwan. I predicted that. I thought they would keep Kwan. They kind of just stayed put. So we'll see how they do. For Minnesota, they traded away everybody, so I don't know who's pitching for them in this game. Of course, they traded away Paddock as well to Detroit. I know Paddock was pretty good in his first outing with them. The rotation, though, is now in a weird spot, so we'll see what happens, but I have no lines. So we know Bybee this year has been underwhelming, 7-9, 4.39 ERA. Last couple of starts, not great. He has given up at least 4 earned in 3 of the last 5 starts, but the Guardians have won 4 straight starts. They've scored at least 6 runs in 4 straight starts that he's made. I'll go with Cleveland. Minnesota voluntarily turned their team into a AAA affiliate, so I'll go with the Guardians here. Minnesota might be a pure fade team in the second half of the season, especially post-trade deadline. They were bad to begin with. Buxton's on the IL. He's going to come back, and none of his friends are going to be there. But they got rid of everybody. So in the, I'd say, spirit of a true selling franchise right now, I'm going to fade them because I think Cleveland's a team that didn't do anything because they can still, in theory, back their way into a playoff spot. Will it happen? No. But they decided, you know what? We like our core. We're not going to get rid of J-Ram. We're not going to get rid of Kwan. We're going to keep our main guys, and they've been playing better baseball lately. Good enough for me. Minnesota stinks. And you're going to look at their lineup, coincidentally like the Guardians or the Indians in Major League. They're going to be those group of construction workers at the diner opening up the newspaper, looking at the actual lineup, going, who the hell are these guys? That's the Twins. That's the Twins right now. They have a bunch of guys you don't know, and they're probably going to struggle, and the team's probably going to suck, but it's intentional. So give me the Guardians to get the job done. Don't mind the -1.5 in this game. Moving on to the Yankees taking on the Marlins. The Marlins really didn't do much at the deadline compared to most years. Normally, you would expect them to trade away Perez or Sandy. They kept both because they've been in good form lately. They're only 3 games under. Will they make a playoff spot? No. But you know what? Good for Miami for actually being somewhat competent on the field for the last month or so. Good for them. For the Yankees, they've been playing better lately. I know Judge got injured, but they won a series against Tampa. You have Schlittler against Perez. For the pricing in this game, Yankees are -120. For Miami, you have around +100. For the over-under, I see 8.5. So the Yankees' offense has been fine lately, even without Judge. We've seen Bellinger step up. We know Volpe actually has hit some home runs lately. Stan's been really good, so the main guys in the Yankees lineup have been contributing. We know Miami's offense has been a bit underrated lately. Stowers has been quite good. They traded away Sanchez, who has really not panned out over the last couple of years, in my opinion. Sanchez, I know, has some power, but they traded him away for Gusto, I mean. I think that Sanchez was kind of an overrated commodity. Maybe a change in scenery helps, but I don't think Gusto's any good. And Gusto ended up being in the trade package for Sanchez. They pulled the plug on him. Now, Miami, once again, has been fine offensively. The pitching, though, has been good. They gave up no runs in their last 2 games against the Cardinals. For this game, I think I like the under, actually. We know it's a pitcher-friendly ballpark in Miami. The Yankees' offense has been fine, but I think Perez has been quite good. And Miami's offense has been fine, but Schlitter has been up and down. The bullpen, though, I think is a strength for the Yankees. Short leash for Schlitter. You could turn it over to the, once again, solid bullpen now for the Yankees. And I do think that is going to be, Schlittler for the Yankees. I think you're looking at a good spot for the under. Give me the under 8.5 for this game. Even if Schlittler doesn't go too well, that's fine. I think the bullpen shuts the door. Give me the under in this game. Moving on to the Giants taking on the Mets. For this game, you have a matchup between Undecided and Senga. We have no lines. The Giants, though, are in free fall. I know Senga's not been great lately, but the Giants stink, and I know they stink. They traded away Doval. They traded away Yaz. They didn't make any moves to improve the team. I'm surprised they didn't trade off more pieces. Team has fallen off a cliff. Give me the Mets, minus 1.5. In this one. Moving on to the Rangers taking on the Mariners. And the Mariners were an aggressive team at the deadline. They made some moves, and they won the opener in the game yesterday. I feel really bad for Thornton, who got injured, got carted off the field on a ground ball to first base with 2 outs in the 9th inning of a 6-0 game. His foot gave out. They carted him off. It was a mess. He's probably out for the year. You hate to see it. However, Seattle in general, switching points to a positive frame of mind, Seattle's been good. They have won, they won the opener in this series. The Rangers, after being on a bit of a heater, have not been good lately. They lost the series to the Angels. They didn't score against the Mariners in the first game of the series. Should be an interesting matchup, though, for this one. You do have DeGrom taking on Castillo, a very good pitching matchup. For the pricing in this game, I see Seattle being around, trying to find Seattle quickly. I see Seattle at around minus 102 or plus 100. I see the Rangers at minus 120. For the over-under, I see 7. Give me Seattle in this game. DeGrom, I understand, has been good this season. Very good this season, but he was not good last start. Gave up 5 earned against the Angels, and the Rangers have actually lost 3 of his last 4 starts. Castillo, though, has been very good lately. 8-6, 3.19 ERA, 2.29 ERA at home, though. He has allowed 4 earned in his last 3 starts combined. He's been pretty good, but Seattle's offense got better. They got Suarez. I like what they did, and you're looking at the Rangers, who had a deadline, which was fine. They got Kelly. The offense has been good lately because Seager's healthy for once, but the form has not been great recently. So I'll go with the Mariners at even money. I think it's a good price for what could be a coin flip game. Moving on to the Braves taking on the Reds. So we saw the Reds have a nice win against the Braves today as they won 3-2. Had the crazy game yesterday where the Braves scored 8 runs in the top of the 8th inning. The Reds scored 8 runs in the bottom of the 8th inning. On 8 straight hits, they had 0 outs. They blew the lead immediately, but the Braves ended up holding on, and they ended up winning in extra innings. But either way, the Reds got revenge in the Friday game. So for this matchup, for the pitchers here, you have Strider against Burns. Now for the pricing, you have the Braves at minus 135, give or take. You have the Reds at plus 114. For the over-under, I see 8.5. Now, I know that Adam is very high on Burns. I'm not. I think he's a good strikeout guy. Gives up way too much damage so far in his young career. He's a rookie. He'll figure it out. His stuff is still really good, but he's learning on the job. And I know Strider has not been as good as he was pre-injuries, but I do think he's the better pitcher in this outing. I'll go Atlanta first 5. You can argue maybe an Atlanta first 5 Reds full game type of combo play, because you can argue the Braves bullpen might punt the game away again, and the Braves have rolled over on the season. But Burns, I think is a pitcher who, I mean, the numbers speak for themselves. He's 0-3, 6.26 ERA. The Red Sox start did carry a ton of that, but he has given up he's given up 9 runs in his last 2 starts combined. He has had 10 strikeouts, though, in 3 straight. So, once again, he has been striking out a ton of guys, but the damage has been there, and the Reds have not been good when he pitches. So far this season, the Reds won his first start, and they've lost every start since. So they're 0-5 in his last 5 starts. I'll go with the Braves' first 5 here. I think Burns will struggle with the walks. I think the home runs might be an issue, but I'll go with the Braves' first 5 in this one. Moving on to the Diamondbacks taking on the A's. So for this one, I thought the A's had a good deadline. They got rid of Miller, got a 5 prospect in baseball, got rid of Andujar as well. They made some moves. They got rid of Sears too. I respect it. The team's not very good, but you know what? They sold off on some guys they needed to, and they got a good package for it. For Arizona, kind of the same story. You have Gallen pitching, who I think most people thought wouldn't be here. He has been quite bad this year, though. Arizona, though, underachieved. They blew it up. So for this matchup, you have Gallen against Jin. For this one, you're looking at Arizona being the most likely favorite. There isn't a line for this game. I'm assuming they'll be favored, but for this matchup, Gallen's been a mess. 7-12, 5.6 ERA. Recently, he has not been good. He has given up 16 earned in his last 3 starts combined. I'll take the A's. I think that you can make an argument that whoever's favored is not worth anything because I don't trust either of these teams. But the A's are still feisty. They still have Kurtz. They still have Butler. They have Rooker. They have guys that can hit. Arizona trade away a lot of key pieces in the lineup. They have not been hitting lately anyway, and Gallen's been terrible. And this is a very hitter-friendly ballpark. Give me the A's in this one, hoping that they are going to be a dog price. Moving on to the second and last game on the card, you have the White Sox taking on the Angels. You have Savale taking on Hendricks. For this one, you have the Angels at -155. You have the White Sox at +130. For the over-under in this game, I see 9 or 9.5. Now, I thought the White Sox deadline was weird. They kept Robert, and they traded away Hauser. So I can't really tell what the vision was, but you know what? Robert's been good, so whatever. He's still in the lineup. For the Angels, they were good against the Rangers in the last couple of games. Did lose the finale against Uvalde. It's fine. They won the series. The offense has been performing well lately. Now, Savale, we know, has been a pitcher that has been okay this season, so being on a couple of teams. 2-6, 4.38 ERA. Given up no earned runs, though, in his last 2 starts combined. So he has kind of found something. For Hendricks, we know that he's not really that great of a pitcher. He hasn't been better at home. He did give up 1 earned only against Seattle in his last start. Before that, though, 3 earned, 4 earned, and 3 earned. I might make a case for the White Sox. Maybe the Angels team total under, actually, and I'll go for a bit of a bolder play. I don't mind Savale in the spot. He's been good. So maybe if you want to go for the Angels' first 5 under and you'll back Savale, that's an option. Not really going to bet it, but for the value, I don't mind the Angels' first 5 team total under, with Savale giving up no earned runs in his last 2 starts combined. Moving on to the last game, the Cardinals taking on the Padres. Cardinals trade away a couple of pieces, kept Donovan. They kept a couple other people as well. You have McCreevy against Vasquez. For this one, you have San Diego -130. You have the Cardinals at +110. Yeah, I know Vasquez has been, I'd say, a bit up and down lately. He's been good recently, not going much distance, but he has allowed less than 3 earned in 4 straight. For McGreevy, he has a 4.91 ERA. He was really bad last start against San Diego. 4 2/3, 7 earned. This price is too cheap to me. Give me San Diego. They were a team that was kind of slumping. Then they swept the Mets. They bought at the deadline. They got O'Hearn. They ended up getting Laureano. They also ended up getting another closer in Miller. I do think they're the much better team. We know St. Louis has been really bad on the road all year. Give me the Padres. I think that the Padres being 34-18 at home, while the Cardinals are 23-31 on the road, speaks for itself. Give me the Padres in this game. Don't mind the over, though, at 8.5 as well. It's going to wrap it up for the show. Or for the actual picks. I'll move on into the lock and dog picks before we get into the actual plays. Though, reminder, they're brought to you by our sponsor, which is Circa. They're still hosting 3 of the biggest football contests for the upcoming NFL season. They have Circa Million, Circa Survivor, Circa Rendissimo, with over 21 million guaranteed prizes. You could also, once again, hang out the SGPN guys at Circa Contest Weekend from the 21st to 23rd for an amazing weekend, including live shows and open bars. Plus, you get 15% off your stay at Circa with the code SGP15. Contests are open to everyone. Sign up in Nevada, play from anywhere with the help of SGPN Special Proxy at footballcontest.com. Use code SGP to get $50 off your proxy fees. We're also brought to you by Fantasy because you're doing Best Ball Mania, happening all summer long, giving away 15 million in prizes, 2 men for first place, no waiver wire, no arguments about trades. Best Ball is the best way to play fantasy football. You could also use the Underdog platform for pick'em entries, which are very, very entertaining. And you go up to 500 times your entry. When you sign up, though, for an account, use the code MLB SGPN. You get a special pick in the first time with an offer up to 1K in bonus cash. Our fancy promo code MLB SGPN. Welcome back, everyone, to the MLB Gambling Podcast. Finished going through all the games for the card. Time to move on into the lock and dog picks for Saturday. So for the lock on the show, thought about a couple of things, but I think for this one, I'm going to go to the last game, actually. I'm going with the Padres. I think 126 is pretty cheap. I get Vasquez doesn't go much distance, but McCreevy just got destroyed by this team in his last start. Padres have been rolling. They've been great at home. Cardinals have been a very good road fade all year. I know they kept a couple of pieces that we thought they might be trading. Still got rid of Helsley. Still got rid of Matz. They got rid of a couple of pieces. They know they're not very good. Give me the Padres money line at home at minus 126 as my lock. For my dog, might be a pretty cheap line, but I think I'll go with it anyway. I'm going to go with the Mariners, actually, at plus 100. DeGrom was not great last start. Castillo's been good. The Rangers' offense, though, which has been a strength, has been good, but they have still lost a couple games recently. After going on a massive heater, they're starting to cool off a bit more. We saw them struggle on the road against the Angels, losing 2 out of 3. They lost the opener 6-0 to Seattle. Seems like Seattle has a bunch of momentum with the trades. Does feel like Seattle owns this team. Seattle's 4-0 this season against the Rangers, and you're looking at Castillo being great. You're looking at DeGrom, who was not great last time out. And the Rangers have not been really good wins and losses-wise with him pitching recently. Give me the Mariners at plus 100 as my dog for the show. Moving on to the home run plays. Who do I want for the home run for Saturday? What do I want for this one? Who do I want to fade? Bueller's interesting. I do want to look at his home runs recently. He's been kind of up and down, actually, for homers. Let me see Gordon. Gordon could struggle in Fenway. Yeah, so I'm going to fade Gordon in this one. Who do I want to go with, though, for my fade? Has he faced anybody on the Red Sox? He has not. So let me quickly see if I could find somebody worth taking for home runs. Let me just quickly see if there's anybody I'm tempted by. You know what? I'll go for a lefty specialist here. Give me Romy Gonzalez. I think he'll have a solid matchup. I thought about going for some other guys, but I like him in Fenway. So far this season, for reference, Romy's batting .247 against righties. He's batting .341 against lefties. Been really good at home, .333. He's been a Fenway Park merchant so far this season. Good enough for me. Give me a Romy Gonzalez home run against Gordon as my home run pick for Saturday. It's going to wrap it up for the card, though. We're back once again on Sunday. Till next time, good luck to all of you and all of your bets. Bye, everyone.